Just even think about all the listeners who are on this podcast. If you've been listening to this for a long time with Stephanie, I guarantee you, if you saw Stephanie at the next event or somewhere else, you're going to like literally feel like you know her, right? As opposed to like not, right?
Yeah,
The
for
other
sure.
way around. It's very, very powerful, that whispering. And so doing this at a consistent basis and building that type of brand, right, as an expert in your niche is very, very valuable. It gives you an unfair advantage, and it makes all your other marketing work better.
Yeah. All of that resonates and tracks. I'm curious, I'm going to get real specific for a second, because I feel like I see a lot of people on LinkedIn right now, and your post makes sense to me, but I feel like everyone's asking a question at the end because they want that engagement. They're like trying to invite people, come have a conversation, like basically put a comment in, like, because I assume that's because that's going to boost in the algorithm's mind. But I'm also just kind of curious what your advice is and how, like, is there some...
Yeah, so what you're talking about is actually a CTA at the end of your post. And CTA just stands for call to action for those people who are not marketers. And so you should always have a call to action, but only one call to action. And it depends on what it is that you want to do. And you want to pair it with the type of piece of content it is. And so really there's 4 different types of content that you can create. There's authority. I call it the ACES method. Okay. So A is for authority content. That's what you want to be known for as an expert in your vertical or your niche. Okay. 2 is C. Okay. So that is connect content. That's anything that hits the heart, the gut, or the funny bone. Like, we want to know you're a real person who cares about real things and experiences real things in life, right?
Yeah.
Like, just like we can't trust if we don't like you, right? We can't like if we don't know you, right? So you got to show up first, get known, then you got to have sometimes have connect pieces of content. The third one is engagement content. That's the E, okay? And what that is you don't have to be the knower of all things. You just need to be a good host. And so if you ask a question, it could be like, hey, which logo do you like? This one or that one? Or, hey, I'm running into this problem. Does anybody know a good accountant? Or you'd be like, here's what I think. What do you think? Like, any way you want to engage it is good in getting a conversation. Just remember, conversions happen in conversations, and you don't have to be the knower of all things. And this is why creating content is easier than people think. Just ask questions. And the last one is show. And so what I mean by this is we don't want to tell people how awesome you are. You don't tell and sell, you show and sell. And show is content where you show before and afters, results you had, client stories, client case studies, things like that is the content. So once you figure out what the content is you're doing, then you decide on what CTA you want to have at the end. And sometimes it might be to comment below. Now, some people put the comment below because they think that it's improving the algorithm, but it has nothing to do with improving the algorithm. So yes, when you have more threaded contents that have meat to it, that is good, and you will get more reach with your content, but that's not why you're going to get more reach. All you need to understand about all social media, does not matter whether you're on LinkedIn or not, is they only care about one thing, okay? So LinkedIn only cares about one thing, which is keeping people on LinkedIn longer. Mm-hmm. And so what they're going to do is they're going to reward content that keeps people on LinkedIn longer. And so you just have to adhere to that rule. If you do that, and then you will find that your content does better. Okay. And so I can get into all the different tactics and things you can do, but as long as you understand that's their agenda, and as long as you adhere to that agenda, that's good. Now you have a secondary agenda, which is your ideal customer. And so you have to think about what does LinkedIn want, or what's going to, and so what's going to keep them there. If you think about it, here's how the LinkedIn algorithm works: is they go, who is this person connected to? Okay. Are they a first connection? And 2, have they engaged with that content before? If the answer is yes, then the likelihood is they're going to engage with it again. Right. And therefore they're going to show that to that person again. Now, if that person did not engage with your content, or they stayed longer on site, they will not show your content again to them again. Like, they'll just go, that's, I'm not going to show it to them. Now, if there is no content to show them, they'll default to the first connection. So they're looking for a pattern based on behavior of your followers and or connections. And of course, like, some content goes further, but the reason why comments work is if it's a meaty comment and there's conversations happen, what do you end up doing? You're staying longer on that piece of content. Therefore, they're going to show more of it to the next person. Right. So this is even a reason why, like, sometimes I sponsor organic content as a paid ad, and we start getting threaded comments if the content is really meaty underneath that ad. I will never delete that ad. I'll continue to keep leveraging it because it has so much social proof and there's so much meat. I know it's sticking there, which then increases my quality score, which decreases my cost per click to be able to get things. So there are particular tactics and strategies that you can use to go really, really deep on doing this. But for most people who are listening to this podcast, all they need to understand is LinkedIn only cares about one thing, which is keeping people on LinkedIn. Don't worry about all the algorithm or when it changes. It doesn't matter. All you need to care about is who's your ideal audience, how are you being helpful to them, and then 2, how do I keep them on LinkedIn longer? And if I adhere to those 2 rules, I'll create content that makes sense. And I will always, generally speaking, be rewarded well for doing that.